In this practical session, we have to learn about Lambda expression, map, and filter. Now it's time to quickly learn about two built-in functions, filter and map. Once we learn about how to these operators should work, we can learn about the Lambda expression, which will come in handy when you begin to develop your skills further. So let's start it first of all with the map function. The map function allows you to map a function to an iterable object. That is to say, you can quickly call the same function to every item in an iterable, such as a list. So let's see same thing with an example. So for that, we have to create one function with the def, and we have to create the square def functions. So here also we have to take a first argument, and that is the number. And based upon that number, we have to provide one semicolon to follow the indentations, and also it should return with the number of power of 2. So the code was perfect over here. Then we have to provide something, or we have to provide one list based upon the numbers. So here I have to create one list, and the list name, that is the my numbers, and particular in that number we have to take 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so after applying that one, now we are using a map function. So with the help of map, here we have to provide two arguments. First is the square, because that is the function name, and the second thing, that is the my numbers. Once I can run that part, so it was applied over here, but for seeing that particular things, we have to again call to list. So for that, we have to simple write down the list of map of, again, square and my numbers. If once I can run these things, I'm getting all the numbers, those who are available in my numbers with their power 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25. That's how map function should work. Now let's talk about the filter function, or how filter should work over here. So first talk about what is a filter. The filter function returns an iterator valuing those items of iterable for which function is true, meaning you need to filter by a function that returns either true or false, then passing that into the filter, and you will be get back only the results when it would return true and when it passed to the function. Let's check same thing within one example. Again, I have to create one function, and based upon that function, I have to create the function name, that is the check number of the number. After that, I have to apply semicolon to follow the proper white space or the indentations comes within written, and particular in the written spelling was wrong, written. And after that, we have to provide the number with the module of 2, and width is equals to 0. So here function is already prepared over here. Now again, I have to create one more list that is based upon a numbers. So I have to take numbers is equals to square bracket, because it represents with the list. That's why we have to take that one. So till 1 to 9, and last number is that you have to take on a 10. So number list is already created over here. Now again I have to use filter, but similarly look like a map filter is again shows the same thing. So that's why we have to take on a filter of, sorry, we have to first of all take a list of filter of, again we have to take a check number and the numbers. So we have to take check number and the second argument, that is the number. So once we can run these things here, the numbers, yes, the numbers are there. So that's why the issue will create it over here. Now if you can see, so we are getting 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 again in a similar way. So that's how these things is helpful for us to get the filter function. After learning about the map and the filter function, now the next topic, that is the lambda expression. After discussing about map and filter, now let's start it with the lambda expression. One of the Python's most useful, and for the beginners it looks something confusing, but it is a main important tools, is the lambda expression. Lambda expression allow us to create anonymous function. This basically means we can quickly make ad hoc function without needing properly define a function using the def or define the function. Function objects written by running lambda expression work exactly the same as those created and assigned by the defs. There is a key difference that makes the lambda useful in a specialized role, and the lambda's body is a single line expression. not a block of statement. That's why the lambda body is similarly to what we would put in the def body written statement. We simply type the result as an expression instead of explicitly returning it because it is limited to an expression. A lambda is less general that of a def. It means define the function things. We can only squeeze this design to limit the program nesting. Lambda is designed for coding simple functions and def handles the larger task. So let's slowly break down a lambda expression by deconstructing a function. So first of all, we can try to construct simple function, and based upon that, we can move forward with the lambda expression. Also, you can build up lambda expression in multiple ways, so we can also see about that part. But first of all, basically I have to create the define the function for the square name. So already function was created with name of square, and we have to provide something in terms of the numbers. And here I have to create the parameter, that is the result is equals to number power of 2. After that, we have to coming with the return of result. So here what are the answer we are getting in terms of the results. So whenever I'm just applying the square of 2, so I am getting the answer, there is a 2 square 2, that is the 4. So for applying a power, we are using this first method. We could also simply look like this one. So I've currently I show the second technique to apply the square things. You can take it square of number. The first solution should become within a 3 line, but now I'm trying to provide the solution within a 2 line. But with the lambda expression, we should see the solution within a single line. So that is the advantage of the lambda expression. So here same thing again we can apply it over here, the square of 2. So that's how we are getting the answer, that is the 4. And now still I can show you one more thing with a single line with the define the things without any lambda expression. So define square, define the function that is an image the square with the number. So same code we can apply it over here, and simple we can return with the number of power of 2. So that's how we can apply the things. And again, once we can run this code, so again we are able to copy this code and we are trying to paste it over here, and we are getting the same results. But this is the form of the function that a lambda expression intends to replicate. A lambda expression can be written as the with the lambda. So that's how now we will see how to apply the lambda. So lambda number semicolon, again you have to provide number with the power of 2. So that's how simply you can create the lambda expression. Let's add some more lines over here to get a practical idea. So similarly, based upon that, now if I want to create the square, so this is just simple lambda expression are there. Okay, so we are not going with the continuing thing. For particular for finding out the square, now look like this one. We are using a lambda expression. So again, we have to provide the number semicolon number power 2. So that's how simply we can create the lambda, and there is no need to apply any type of the define the function, no need to apply any returns, also don't need to provide any type of the white space or the indentations. And simply if here I can provide the square of 2 and run these things, I'm getting the correct answer. So that's how you are trying to use lambda expression, so that can really helpful to you. So why would we are using this one? Many function calls need a function that passed in, such as a map and filter. So we are also able to use map and filter with the lambda expression. So often you only need to use function you are passing once. So let's see how it can possible. In previous sessions, we already seen how to apply the maps and filters. So let's use again that part with the list. In the bracket of list we have to provide the map, and in particular map we have to provide this one again like lambda, then we have to provide number, then semicolon number of power of 2. So that's how we are able to this one. And for particular for this list we have to provide our list name. So we already create the my numbers of that list, so we are using the same thing over here, and then we have to run this code. So after running this we are getting an idea 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25 how we are getting, because already in my numbers list we are having the value of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So based upon that we are getting over here all the power of that my number of list. So that's how lambda expression should be used. You can also get an idea like how lambda expression should be work with the string of indexing and slicing. Lambda expression is also work with some normal addition or multiplication, that type of stuff. You will find yourself using lambda expression often with the certain non-built in libraries For example, the pandas library for data analysis works very well with the lambda expression. So that part also we will see in the future sessions. In this practical session, we have to learn about the nested statements and the scope. Now that we have gone over writing our own functions, it is important to understand how Python deals with the variables names you assign. When you create a variable name in Python, the name is stored in a namespace. Variable also have a scope, and the scope determines the visibility of that variable name to other parts of the code. Let's start with a quick thought about the experiment and imagine this particular code. So what type of issues will created whenever you can create the function with the particular same name like print or printer like that one. So let's check it about how the things are working over here with this practical. So for that, here I have to take one value for the x, and that is the x is equals to 25. Based upon the value of x, I have to create one new definition or new define the function, and the function name that is the printer. And based upon this printer, I have to provide one code and semicolon for following the proper indentations. Now in this function, I have to provide the value of x is equals to 50, and now it things can return with the x. After getting idea about that, the two questions are generated over here. If I'm trying to apply the print of x, so what is the answer? The 25 or the 50? So here, whenever I should apply the print of x, the answer of print of x that is the 25. But if I can apply the printer of x, so at the same time I'm getting the answer in terms of the error. But I think that is depends upon some spelling. I have to check the same thing. Yes, not in spelling. Why we are getting an error? Because I just only applied the printer of x. That's why. For getting the value of printer, we have to provide the print of printer. We have to provide the print of printer of x. But still, if I can apply it with the x, still I'm getting an error. So for that, what we have to do, we have to simply remove that one. And now we are trying to run this code. So at the end, we are getting an output that is a 15. So this type of things we are facing during this particular nested statements. So we are solving these issues now. This is interesting, but how does Python know which X you are referring to in your code? So that is the question is that like how we are getting the idea to answer related to the X is equals to 25 or X is equals to 50. This is where the idea of scope will comes in. Python has a set of rules and it follows to decide what variables such as in X in this case and you are referencing in your code. Let's break down the rules. This idea of scope in your code is very important to understand in order to properly assign and call variable names. In simple terms, the idea of scope can be described by three general rules. And the first rule that is the name assignments will create or change local names by default. Second rule that is the name references search for scopes. These are the local enclosing functions, global and built-in. That is also called as a LEGB rules. That part we can understand further in this session. And the third, that is the names declared in global and non-local statements map assigned names to enclosing the modules and function scopes. So according to the LEGB rules, let's talk about that part. L, it stands for the local, and in particular with the local, names assigned in any way within a function, define the function or the lambda function, you can use whatever you want, and not declared global in that particular function. E will stand for the enclosing function locals, names in the local scope of any and all enclosing function from inner to outer. G will stand for the global, also looks for the module, names assigned at the top level of the module file or declared global in and a define the function within the file. And the last B will stand for the built-in and particular for that names pre-assigned in the built-in names module, for example, open range or the syntax error. So that's how this type of stuff is working over here. So according to that one, let's take out some practical samples or examples based upon a LEGB rules. And first will stand for the local. So how you can apply things based upon a local. So first of all, for that I have to create the variable of f with the help of the lambda expression. So I have to use lambda over here, and we have to provide x semicolon x power 2 over here. So that's how the things are working over here, and we have to run this code. So after running this code, we are getting second thing. So that is the very basic things are there, and that is also known as the local. That's why it will all simply applied over here. But the second thing that is the important, enclosing the function locals. So this occurs when we have a function inside a function. It is also understood as a nested function. So let's see how we can apply this nested function over here. So first of all, for that I have to create one name, and particular in a name I have to create one string, and that is this is a global name. So based upon that we have to do everything. And in the next way we have to apply the definition or the define the function, that is depends upon you. If you also want to go with the lambda expression, that is your individual choice, and you can also follow that part. But here I should use define the function methods. And now it's time to enclosing the function. So I have to provide the name is equals to, here the name is the Sam, and based upon that particular name, now I'm trying to create a next function, because here we have to see about a nested function, that's why. And here we have to provide the hello with the same techniques, same things we have to provide over here. And again over here we have to provide the print function. In a print we have to provide the hello, and with hello I want to concat the particular name of Sam. That's how you can create a nested statements, or with the particular with the help of the function. After applying that part, the next thing that is a simple, we have to provide of hello. And after hello we are going to apply with same thing with the greet. So whenever we can apply the same thing at the same time, in the answer I'm getting the final things, and that is the hello Sam. Also, if you want to provide the space between the hello and spam Sam, so for that what you have to do, you have to provide the space in this particular hello with these quotes. So once I can run these things, now I'm getting a difference or the space between hello and Sam. So that's how out of LEGB, L and E should work. In the next session we can talk about how the G will stand and the B will stand. After talking about local and enclosing function, now it's time to talk about the global and built-in. Global. Luckily in Jupyter, a quick way to test for a global variable is to see if another cell will recognize the variable. Let's see how it should work. So it should work with the print function. Whenever you should apply the print of name with the particularly what are the particular code we can create for the enclosing function. We have to test it similarly to that one. And that's why we are getting the print of name. That's why we are getting the particular global things, and that is depends upon the this is a global name. Similarly, in the built-in, these are built-in functions names in the Python. Don't overwrite this one. If you run this code again and again, length for particular for length, so it will not give an proper output. So here it will give just only particular function of length, and particular they are showing objects. After talking about the LEGB rule, now it's talking about the variables. Basically, two type of variables here we are getting. The local variables are there, with the global statements are there, as well as at the end we have to also see about the conclusion. Let's talk about the local variables. When you declare variables inside a function definitions, they are not related in any way to other variables with the same names used outside the functions. For example, variable names are local to the function, and this is called the scope of the variable. All the variables have the scope of the block, and they are declared in a starting from the point of the definition of the name. Let's check it out to one simple example based upon that. If I should take x is equals to 50 over here, and same thing we are already seen in the starting of this session based upon a nested statement and scope related to the print and printer. But let's check it about the same thing over here. X is equals to 50. I already taken over here. And in the next, I have to create the function, and the name of the function, that is the func of x. So after applying as x, we have to apply it over here the semicolon for follow the indentations. Now it's time to apply the print function with some comment like x is what is the currently value of x. You are also have to mention that values as well as. So here we have to mention that value x over here. Now in the next things again we can if you want to provide some particular value of x is equals to 2, like here again I want to provide the value of x is equals to 2, and based upon again over here I want to apply some print function, and in a print I want to apply it like changed local x to current value of x. So that type of things you can also happen to do over here. And after that, we have to just simple call the function func of x over here, and then we have to print the current value of x. So x is till that represent the current value of x. So that's how we have to run this code. So here we are getting an idea. In a starting, the x is equals to 50, but after change local to x to 2, after still x is still 50. So here the 2 is not reflected in the value of x because we have to always call the x with the function of x. That's why the first time that we print the value of the name x with the first line in the functions of body. Python uses the value of the parameter that declared in the main block above the function definition. Next, we assign the value 2 to x and the name x is to the local to our function. So when we change the value of x in the function, the x defined in the main block and it remains unaffected. With the last print statement, we get the display in particular display we are getting the value of x as defined in the main block, and thereby confirming that is actually unaffected by the local assignment within the previously called function. So after getting idea about the local variables, now it's time to talk about the global statement. So let's see what are the global statement. If you want to assign a value to a name defined at the top level of the program, for example, not inside any kind of the scope such as the function or classes, then you have to tell Python that the name is not local, but it is the global. We will do using the global statement. It is impossible to assign a value to a variable defined outside the function without a global statement. For particular that you can use the values of such variables defined outside the function, assuming there is no variable with the same name within the functions. However, this is not encouraged and should be avoided since it becomes unclear to the reader of the program as to where that variable's definition is. Using the global statement makes it amply clear that the variable is defined in an outermost block. So let's see the same task with the help of the coding. And particular for that, we have to write some big code, not in small code. So for particular that, again, I have to use some particular code from the last program over here, and I want to edit this code for particularly global statement. So in particular starting, I have to take an x is equals to 50, define the function, but after over here, I want to apply something based upon a global, and that is the global x. So when you want to work with the global statement, you have to provide this type of stuff over here. And particularly in a print, you have to apply something over here. So that's why we have to remove this one and we have to add one statement over here. Like this function is now using the global x. This function is now using the global x. After apply this printing, we have to apply another print function. And particular in this print function, we have to apply the because of the global x is, and we are trying to apply some another values of x. So because of global value of x, now we have to apply the another value of x. And after applying that one, we have to again use x is equals to 2 and again print with the ran function of change global x to the x. So here, I think we can go with the same thing. Okay, we are not applying any type of the things. A random function, if you want to add, so you can also add that part. A random function will change local x to the x, and again same thing is complete over here. And now after completion of this one, we have to again apply one time we have to apply the print function. And particular in the print function, we have to apply same thing before calling function x is x. Before calling function x is, again here we have to provide the x, and now we are going with the same still condition function of x. We have to remove this function of x over here, and last thing is x is still x. Yes, that was correct. Here we are getting an error for particularly over here because name x is parametric global. Okay, so we are getting an error. Let's check it out on what level we are getting an error. after applying x is equals to 2, we have to check that error. Then we are getting some perfect things over here. Okay, so I think the error is based upon x. I think in previous one we are using x, but still x is parametric model. Yes, we have to remove the x from over here as well as over here. Yes. Why the error will come? Because we had copied the last code. That's why we are getting an error. Okay. So the before calling functions x is 50. This function is now using the global x because the global value of x is 50, and the random function will change the local value of x to the 2, and x is still 2. So that's how this thing was things was changing over here. So particularly in the global statement is used to declare that x is a global variable. Hence, when we assign a value to x inside the function, that change is reflected when we use the value of x in the main block. You can specify more than one global variable using the same global statement. For example, global of x, y, and z. Particular after conclusion in this particular session, you should now have a good understanding of scope, and you may have already intuitively the felt right about the scope and which is the great things are there. One last mention is that you can use the globals and locals function to check what are your current local and global variables. So another thing keep in mind is that everything in Python is an object, and I can assign variables to function just like I can do work with the numbers. We will go over this again and again in some particular all the topics.